Harley-Davidson showrooms across the U.S. are seeing an unusual situation. Bikes are stacking up, but customers are nowhere to be found. Sales have hit a wall, and dealers are starting to feel the pressure. Let's dive into the 7 Harley models that simply aren't moving off the shelves. And trust me, it only gets more interesting from here. Starting with number 7 on our list, the Harley-Davidson Softail Standard. This bike was intended to bring back the basics, offering a straightforward Harley experience that reminded everyone why they love riding. With no frills, no high-tech features, and a simple aesthetic, it was all about pure V-twin riding enjoyment. But here's the catch. Real-world feedback showed that riders just weren't buying into the concept. Under the hood, you'll find the Milwaukee 8-117 engine, pumping out 87 horsepower and 109 pound-feet of torque from its 1,745cc V-twin setup. That sounds impressive, right? It's paired with a 6-speed transmission and the classic Softail frame. But many riders felt that the minimalist design went a bit too far. The Softail Standard is lacking in a few key areas. There's no wind protection, no passenger seat, and comfort on longer rides leaves much to be desired. It's fine for short trips around town, but take it on the highway or over a long day, and it can quickly turn uncomfortable. The riding position doesn't help either. Mid-mount controls and a narrow solo seat create problems for taller riders, while shorter riders find it tough to feel secure at stops. And in today's world, where even budget-friendly bikes from Honda and Yamaha come equipped with basic comfort features, this model seems a bit outdated. Let's discuss the price, too. With a starting price of $13,949, it's not exactly a bargain. Many other cruisers in the same price bracket offer better standard features, improved comfort for longer journeys, and often even dual seats. Riders hoping for a budget-friendly Harley soon realized that the base price was just that, a starting point. For a more practical ride, many found themselves needing to shell out extra. To really understand what's going on with some Harley models right now, we need to talk about the Softail Standard. When you look at it, you might think you're getting a good deal. But here's the kicker. Once you start adding things like a windshield, passenger seat, saddlebags, and more, the price starts creeping up to around $15,000 or even $16,000. That's when the initial appeal begins to dim. Then there's the style. It's definitely a you either love it or hate it situation. Some riders appreciate the classic bare metal tank and the nostalgic design elements. Others, though, say it lacks the personality you get from models like the Fat Bob or Lowrider S. Plus, it shares a look with other Softail models, which often leads to confusion. Many people think it's more luxurious until they see what it's missing. Word got around quickly. Riders would stroll into dealerships, excited for that iconic Harley experience, only to leave feeling let down. The Softail Standard became a tough sell for dealers. Despite its minimalist design, it didn't strike the emotional chord or practicality that many Harley enthusiasts search for. Some dealerships attempted to sweeten the deal by bundling accessory packages, but that didn't really address the core issue. For a lot of riders, it felt like paying full price for half a bike. Now, if you think the Softail Standard has problems, wait until we dive into the next model, the Harley-Davidson Street Rod. This model aimed to break away from the traditional heavyweight cruiser image and attract younger, speed-seeking riders. However, the outcome wasn't as promising. Built on the same foundation as the Street 750, the Street Rod was intended to deliver a sportier, bolder riding experience. It boasted a revamped Revolution X engine, giving it 68 horsepower and 74 pound-feet of torque, with a displacement of 749 cubic centimeters. On the technical side, that sounds impressive, but in practice, it fell short. The bike had features like inverted front forks, dual disc brakes, and gas-charged rear shocks, which should have made it one of the top-handling Harleys available for under $10,000. While it did provide better handling than many Harley bikes, that improvement came at a high price. The riding position on this bike feels cramped and awkward, with foot pegs positioned too high, and a seat that becomes uncomfortable on longer journeys, especially for taller riders. While the sporty look might sell well in advertisements, it leaves a lot to be desired in real-life riding. Then there's the design itself, which caused some confusion. Harley attempted to mix cruiser elements with a sport bike vibe, sporting drag-style handlebars, a shortened rear, and bold tank lines. The outcome? It didn't really land in either camp. Traditional Harley fans found it lacking passion, while younger riders turned away, unimpressed by its outdated looks and performance that can't compete with Japanese and European brands. Speaking of competition, let's look at prices. At the starting point of $8,690, buyers began making comparisons with models like the Yamaha MT-07, the Honda CB650R, and the Kawasaki Z650. These bikes offer better power and comfort, plus finer details, all for a similar, if not lower, price. The Harley name wasn't enough to sway many in this market. Quality wasn't on the street rod side either. Owners frequently reported rattling parts, uneven finishes, and occasional electrical quirks. While none of these issues were major disasters, they added up, reinforcing the notion that the street rod was struggling to fit in. It didn't have the polish, heritage, or everyday usability required to succeed in such a competitive category. Despite decent torque and improved handling, the street rod found itself in a tough spot. It was too uncomfortable for sports bike lovers and too unconventional for die-hard Harley fans. The end result? A motorcycle that collects dust in showrooms. Dealers had hoped to attract new customers by stocking up, but the interest never materialized. Harley has since redirected its efforts towards more classic and larger models, leaving the street rod as a lesson in attempting to merge two different worlds without successfully appealing to either. Let's dive into the intriguing world of Harley-Davidson bikes that have left dealerships scratching their heads, especially with their pricing and appeal. If you're tired of the usual marketing hype and want the straight facts, make sure to hit that subscribe button. First on our list is the Harley-Davidson Road Glide CVO. This bike was meant to be the star of the touring lineup, a luxury ride with top-of-the-line features and a design aimed at making a bold statement. However, it seems that something didn't quite click, and now the Road Glide CVO is sitting unsold at many dealerships. Powering this motorcycle is the Milwaukee 821 V-twin engine, which boasts a displacement of 1,983 cubic centimeters, pumping out 115 horsepower and 139 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers sound impressive, right? But here's the catch. This grand touring bike weighs in at nearly 950 pounds. That's a lot of metal that needs serious comfort and balance to handle well on the road. The price tag? A staggering $51,999. This makes it one of the priciest bikes Harley has ever offered. Sure, it comes loaded with features like adjustable suspension, a high-end audio system from Rockford Fosgate, a 12.3-inch touchscreen, and numerous electronic aids designed for safety and ride quality. Yet many longtime fans find themselves puzzled by the steep cost. Why is it nearly twice the price of the Street Glide Special? The Road Glide CVO might boast some flashy upgrades and features, but when stacked against Harley's other grand touring models, that additional price just doesn't seem justified. Riders expect a showstopper for nearly $52,000, but what they often receive feels more like a premium paint job over a familiar model, rather than a groundbreaking new experience. Let's dive into a topic that many motorcycle enthusiasts care about: resale value. The CVO models from Harley are famous for quickly losing their value as soon as they're driven off the lot. While a standard touring bike might keep a decent price over time, the Road Glide CVO has been known to drop thousands in its first year alone. That's something to think about, especially for those older buyers who are investing their retirement savings in what they hope is their dream ride. Some riders have even opted to customize a regular Road Glide or Street Glide instead, finding they can create a more personal bike for much less. Dealerships are noticing this trend. Inventory is piling up, bikes are lingering on the showroom floor longer, and despite the accolades for its advanced features and stylish design, the Road Glide CVO is starting to seem more like a collector's item than a must-have motorcycle. It's designed for those who want all the bells and whistles, but the reality is that few riders are willing to spend that kind of cash. Even fewer come through the door looking for it anymore. This model shows how Harley-Davidson aimed high, but missed the mark on what riders really wanted. While it may stand out on display, this premium model is struggling to find its audience. Now, if the Road Glide CVO was a bit too extravagant, let's talk about the next bike on our list, which is all about muscle, the Harley-Davidson Fat Bob 114. When it was first introduced, the Fat Bob 114 was the embodiment of a rebellious spirit, featuring big tires, dark finishes, and a commanding presence, all backed up by a powerful V-twin engine promising a thrilling ride. Harley was making a statement in the modern cruiser market. However, despite all the bravado, the Fat Bob ended up being more polarizing than popular. Beneath its bold exterior lies the Milwaukee 8 114 engine. That's a hefty 1,175cc engine that packs a punch with 94 horsepower and 119 pound-feet of torque, delivering a serious kick off the line when you twist the throttle. But power alone isn't enough, and that's where the Fat Bob had some issues. Many traditional Harley riders found its ergonomics to be less than ideal right from the start. The forward foot controls and stretched-out riding position created a look that was aggressive but felt uncomfortable, especially on longer rides. For riders of average height, the handlebars felt a bit too far away, and the seating angle created some strain on the lower back and shoulders. It was more of a sporty take on a cruiser than a bike focused on comfort. Then there's the design. The Fat Bob was Harley's attempt to combine modern flair with a retro vibe. It showcased an LED horizontal headlamp, a unique 2-into-1-into-2 exhaust system, and a chunky, bulldog-like appearance. While some riders loved this bold new look, others were turned off. It felt too different for the hardcore Harley fans and didn't quite appeal to those interested in sport cruisers. Riders seeking a practical bike for daily use faced challenges as well. The Fat Bob isn't built for commuting or long trips. Its thick tires and wide build can make it heavy in turns and tricky to handle in crowded city settings. Plus, even though the suspension is decent, it doesn't offer the smooth ride you'd expect at this price. When it first hit the market, the Fat Bob was priced around $18,000. This placed it right against more versatile models, not just from Harley, but also from competitors like Indian and Yamaha. Customization played a part in its limited appeal too. While there's a huge aftermarket for Harley bikes, the Fat Bob's distinctive design meant fewer easy modification options. Riders looking to customize quickly found that changing components like the exhaust or bodywork took more time, more money, and more creativity. All these factors created a challenging scenario. A striking, powerful bike that looked impressive but fell short in key areas: ride comfort, versatility, and suitability for longer rides. The outcome? It didn't resonate with a wide audience. Instead, it became a niche choice for a specific kind of rider who appreciated its bold stance but wasn't looking for practicality. In today's market, practicality is crucial. That's why the Fat Bob 114 found itself in a confusing spot. It was too muscular for casual riders, not refined enough for those seeking high performance, and lacked comfort for long-distance travel. This combination isn't a winning recipe, which is why many dealerships still find this model lingering around, waiting for that perfect buyer who hasn't shown up yet. Let's dive into a topic that's been stirring up quite a buzz in the motorcycle community: the Harley-Davidson Livewire. You might recall that back in 2019, Harley took a daring leap by introducing its first electric bike. This wasn't just another touring model or a redesigned softail. It aimed to herald a new chapter for the iconic brand. However, instead of kicking off a bright future, the Livewire has proven to be a challenging endeavor for Harley. At first, everything about the Livewire seemed promising. Its modern design was eye-catching and sleek, built to turn heads on the road. When it came to power, this bike didn't skimp either. With a robust electric motor, it boasted 105 horsepower and 86 pound-feet of torque. That meant it could go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds. A thrilling experience for any rider. Plus, if you were riding in the city, you could get as much as 146 miles on a single charge, making it a solid option for urban trips. However, many Harley enthusiasts didn't quite share the excitement. One major sticking point was its price tag of $29,799, which positioned it higher than Harley's most premium touring bikes. This hefty cost put it out of reach for many younger riders looking to join the Harley family. Traditional fans, on the other hand, weren't interested in a bike that didn't have that classic rumble they cherished. The Livewire lacked the iconic V-twin growl, the sensation of shifting gears, and the vibrations that usually come with riding a Harley. For those who thrive on the visceral connection of a gas-powered bike, the Livewire felt a bit too antiseptic. To add to its troubles, the necessary charging infrastructure in the United States wasn't quite there yet. While it did offer fast charging options, many riders found that the experience was not as convenient as they had hoped. What you're left with is a fascinating concept that, despite its impressive specs, hasn't quite found its footing in the hearts of Harley's loyal fan base. Many motorcyclists have a strong connection with their bikes. So, when Harley-Davidson launched the Livewire, it sparkled with the promise of innovation. But the outcome? Not so bright. The Livewire struggled to find its niche, caught in a tug-of-war between new tech and traditional values. Priced at a hefty $22,000, it was seen as too complicated for beginners and too quiet for veteran riders, craving that classic roar. Harley made moves to shift its strategy. They marketed the Livewire in bustling city areas, and even tried to give it a fresh identity by launching it as a separate brand. Still, nothing clicked. Dealerships were left with a stack of unsold models gathering dust. The Livewire stands as a lesson. Even a storied company like Harley cannot overlook the desires of its dedicated fans when venturing into new territory. Electric bikes may have promise ahead, but for Harley, the Livewire wasn't the right start. Now let's talk about another model that didn't quite make the headlines. Enter the Harley-Davidson Nightster. This bike was meant to shake things up, giving riders a fresh take on the Sportster family. However, it didn't get the reception it hoped for. The Nightster's engine and riding experience left a lot to be desired for the loyal Harley crowd, while new riders didn't find it compelling enough to take a second look. So, what's the heart of the issue? The Nightster features a liquid-cooled Revolution Max engine with 975 cc, promising 90 horsepower and 70 pound-feet of torque. Sounds impressive, right? But in reality, the engine lacked that classic Harley growl and feel. Instead of embodying the raw, rugged essence that V-twin enthusiasts love, it felt overly polished and distant from the brand's roots. For many, this emotional connection was a huge miss. Just performance wasn't enough to win hearts. Starting at a price of $13,499, the Nightster was supposed to be an affordable entry point into the world of Harley. However, many riders found that it didn't quite live up to that promise. A common complaint was the build quality. Some owners pointed out issues like cheap-looking finishes, exposed wiring, and an overall feel that just didn't match the high standards of traditional Harley models. The design didn't win everyone over either. While the Nightster aimed for a minimalist, blacked-out vibe reminiscent of past Sportsters, it ended up looking more like any other cruiser, lacking the distinctive flair buyers expected from a brand known for its unique identity. Ergonomics were another sticking point. With mid-mounted foot controls and low handlebars, taller riders often felt constrained while riding. Plus, the firm suspension made for a tough ride, especially on rougher roads. Although it was lightweight, the handling left something to be desired, not quite matching the expectations of many. It found itself in a strange spot, not quite a cruiser, and not sporty enough for those seeking thrills. This disconnect was evident in its sales numbers. When you look at the competition, it's clear why riders were hesitant. For a similar price, they could choose models like the Yamaha MT-07 or Honda Rebel 1100, both of which provided smoother handling, better power delivery, and more advanced technology. Even within Harley's own offerings, many riders opted for the used Iron 1200 or 48 models, which delivered a more authentic feel and greater customization possibilities. These alternatives had the character, sound, and street presence that the Nightster simply didn't possess. As a result, in dealerships across the U.S., the Nightster became a bike people would sit on but rarely purchase. It certainly had promise, but without solid sales, that promise didn't help keep the business afloat. It aimed to be a new chapter for Harley, but instead turned into a half-formed afterthought. For a brand already facing challenges in defining its future, the Nightster's underperformance served as a troubling sign. Now we arrive at the last bike on our list, a model that Harley had hoped would attract new riders, but that ultimately ended up gathering dust and dealer frustration instead. Let's dive into the Harley-Davidson Street Series, the Street 500 and Street 750. Harley has built its name on powerful bikes with that unmistakable growl that roars down the highway. But when they attempted to create something smaller and more budget-friendly, targeting new riders, it backfired. These models were meant to be entry-level options, perfect for anyone looking to become part of the Harley community. Unfortunately, they ended up being some of the company's least memorable efforts. Let's break down the specifics. The Street 500 was equipped with a liquid-cooled Revolution X engine, cranking out just 34 horsepower. Its engine size was 494 cc, delivering a relatively modest torque of 29 pound-feet. Meanwhile, the Street 750 offered a little more gusto with 47 horsepower and 44 pound-feet of torque from its 749 cc engine. However, even with these improved numbers, it failed to capture the interest of enthusiasts. The main issue? They felt nothing like true Harleys. There was no powerful V-twin roar that shakes your chest, no gut-pulling torque that makes the ride exhilarating, and the distinctive style usually associated with Harley was missing. Many riders felt the street models resembled foreign bikes more than American classics, with muted sounds, plastic finishes, and a ride that didn't deliver the characteristic low-end power that defines a Harley. At a time when Harley aimed to attract a younger audience, these bikes were supposed to do the trick. They were lightweight, had low seat heights, and were easy to maneuver, perfect for Harley's training programs. Yet, outside those training grounds, they just didn't stand out. Riders labeled them as underwhelming, and issues with build quality became apparent, with complaints about rattling components, loose panels, and easily scratched paint. Now let's talk about the price. When launched, the Street 500 was set at $7,695, with the Street 750 coming in at $8,499. While these numbers might seem reasonable at first glance, potential buyers quickly realized they didn't match the bike's overall value. Competing offerings like the Honda Rebel and Yamaha Bolt provided stronger performances, ultimately leading customers to look elsewhere. Harley-Davidson has experienced some interesting challenges with certain models that just didn't take off. Despite delivering solid performance, good looks, and quality builds, often at lower prices than their other bikes, these models, like the Street Series, found themselves lingering in showrooms. What's more, not every dealership provided the support these bikes needed. In some places, salespeople seemed more focused on promoting larger touring bikes or pricier cruisers, letting the streets sit untouched. Parts weren't always easy to come by, and customization options were limited, which didn't sit well with longtime Harley fans or aftermarket suppliers. After investing heavily in marketing and launching the Street 500 and Street 750, it became clear they just weren't gaining the traction Harley had hoped for. Eventually, the company decided to phase them out of their lineup. Now the remaining models sit unsold, more often seen as a misstep rather than a part of Harley's legacy. For a brand known for its robust personality and rich traditions, the Street Series aimed for a fresh approach, but ultimately found itself stuck. What do you think? Is there a Harley from this list that you believe deserves another shot? Share your thoughts in the comments, and remember to subscribe for more insightful discussions on motorcycles.